In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the tropics. We have seen some recent developments in the Gulf of Mexico that are leading us to believe that there is a pretty high chance that the United States is going to be seeing some tropical activity. We also still have Tropical Storm Franklin and two other threats further eastward out there in the Atlantic as well going on. So there is multiple things that we are watching very, very closely here. Now, we're also going to be going over the upcoming pattern, of course, among other things. But before we do, be sure to check out Prestige Weather in the description and pin comment down below. It's only $5 a month, and we do have early access now to our second winter forecast over there that you can check out today by joining in the pin comment and description down below. Let's get straight into things, and first things first, we're taking a look here at the tropics, of course, and like I mentioned, we do have Tropical Storm Franklin, which we will take a look at in a minute, an extensive look. We do have our disturbance out here, this code orange. It's a 20% chance of development over the next 48 hours, and then a 50% chance over the next 7 days. So we do see that one kind of increasing in probability over time, and there still is a coin flip chance of that one developing eventually. To the north of there, we do have a 20% chance of development over the next 2 days, and then still over the next 7 days, a 20% chance. Odds are that we will not see this one develop, but there is still that chance there. So we're going to continue to watch this diligently. Now, the one that we really have our eyes on here is this one here, which has a 30% chance of development over the next 2 days, but a whopping 70% chance over the next 7 days. So we see a large increase there in probability here over time, and this one would be taking aim there at the west coast of Florida, panhandle of Florida area there. And also, there's a really good shot that this one would cross over Florida and then be over water again off the southeast coast and potentially develop further at that point. So there's multiple implications here talking about that storm in particular that we really need to watch closely. Now, as we take a look here at the cone forecast for Tropical Storm Franklin, as you can see, it's expected to remain a tropical storm until about 8 p.m. there on Saturday, and then upgrading to a hurricane there at 8 a.m. tomorrow, or better yet, in 2 days on Sunday, and that is expected to remain a hurricane all the way until midweek there at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, and we're going to be watching this closely the entire time. The odds of an East Coast impact continue to go down, thankfully, with this one. As we talked about, there was a very slim chance of that happening, but still a chance nevertheless. That chance is diminishing as we kind of pin down this forecast for this particular storm, but it is expected to become a hurricane, which means it is a significant storm out there in the Atlantic. So we will continue to talk about this one. There still is that chance of a Bermuda impact, so there is some implications there as well. Multiple things to talk about with this storm. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the storminess here. As you can see, by the time we're reaching later today, we see that there is some thunderstorms firing up here across the northeast, a lot of the Ohio Valley as well. We can see for the northwest down through the Rockies and back up through the northern plains and upper Midwest, we do have some thunderstorms also later today on Friday the 25th. Saturday here on the 26th, as you can see, we do have some isolated and scattered thunderstorms here across a lot of the east, a lot of the west, and a lot of the central. So a pretty wide stretching area here that we're taking a look at some impacts for this one. As we keep going with this, we can see by Sunday the 27th, we can see that there is a pretty similar setup. Things have slid a little bit further south, but through the Rockies, down into the plains, and then up the East Coast, we do have a lot of thunderstorm activity kind of just prevailing at this point. Let's take this towards Monday here on the 28th, and as you can see, the East Coast is dealing with some thunderstorm activity all the way from Florida all the way up through Maine. We see Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming seeing some thunderstorm activity also there. Let's keep going, and by the time we reach Tuesday, it's again another very active East Coast day, I would say, is the main trend here. We can see for a lot of the Great Lakes, the Southeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast, we're seeing some thunderstorms really prevailing here. Let's just keep going, and by the time we reach Wednesday, we do see that tropical system hitting somewhere north of Tampa Bay, according to this European model, although this could be further south. This could be further north. There definitely is a lot of time for things to shift in this department, so we really need to wait until this one begins to develop, and we'll have a much better idea of what to expect with this. But what we're going to see is by the time we reach Thursday, it will be over the southeast coast, moving relatively quickly as a 990 millibar low pressure center, And as you can see, it does bring some activity onshore North Carolina. So we're going to be watching for some potential impacts there with this one as well. Now on this frame, outside of this storm, you can see that there is not a whole lot of activity in the United States. So maybe a slowing down there of a lot of that activity. For Friday, September 1st, this one will have already slid off the East Coast is the expectation at this point now. We do see some thunderstorms firing up throughout a lot of the Great Lakes and Upper Midwest, portions of the Four Corner states as well. We're seeing this. So that is the trend as of now. For Saturday the 2nd, again, a very, very quiet day. And then as we reach the 3rd, it's the same story. So maybe moving into a much quieter pattern after we reach the very end of August into the beginning of September. That is going to be what we have to end up watching for here. Now, as we take a look here at the total precipitation, as you can see, there is pretty minimal activity happening here, pretty much to the west of the Appalachian Mountain Range. We can see states like Colorado seeing some above average activity. You know what? I would actually just call it kind of the Rocky Mountain Range here, where we're seeing some above average activity. Very close to being above average as well for some of the upper Midwest here. But for a majority of this larger bubble that I've gone ahead and drawn here, there is not a whole lot happening. Now, up and down the East Coast, we do see significant amounts of activity and above average precipitation in general, all the way from Florida up to Maine. Because as you remember probably just a second ago, we were talking about those days of storminess, and there was a few days in there of pretty persistent thunderstorms and tropical activity happening throughout these areas. So that certainly played a big role here in why we're seeing the above average activity for that area. Now, the temperature pattern, we are expecting warmer conditions to prevail for a little bit here. We do see cooler temperatures begin to move down southward here for a lot of the east. So we're seeing something like this, and this is mostly as a result of this positive PNA for a lot of the west here that we're seeing. So this is the overall pattern there by the 28th. As we keep going, we see that this actually becomes more dramatic with a larger cool down occurring here around the 31st of August. So we're again seeing this kind of positive PNA pattern out west. I'll draw this in. It's a very east-based positive PNA because we have this warm stretching very far into the central states and central regions of Canada there. And we're seeing a significant cool down for the east here taking place. I'm very curious what we're going to see after this, but we do see some cooler air prevailing until about the 4th of September. And then perhaps a very, very large warm-up happening at this point. Now, for the west, we are seeing more neutral to maybe above average temperatures, so it's maybe a positive PNA, but this in the east is not suggesting that at all. It's a little bit of some mixed signals taking place, and there is a couple of frames like this one, for instance, where we see mostly cool out west, so definitely more of a negative PNA look with warmth surging for a lot of these areas. Anyway, we do upload every single day. We will keep you up to date with all things regarding the tropics, the upcoming storms, the temperature pattern. So rest assured we will be going over all of that with you guys. Now, be sure to subscribe for those daily uploads. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.